Hello, my name is Joseph Thomas, and today we're going to be talking about ransomware threats to critical infrastructure management strategy that can be used for any pipeline company in the world. The topic we're going to cover is the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack that occurred in 2021. This presentation is for F416 Cybersecurity Management that I'm taking at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Cybersecurity breaches extend beyond data loss and information technology failures. Today, threats can affect physical operations, supply chains, and public safety. It can also lead to environmental and personal damage. It poses a huge safety risk. In this strategy presentation, I will discuss ransomware threats to pipeline infrastructure using the example of the Colonial Pipeline hack. I will also give pipeline companies tips on how to minimize these risks and build their businesses more effectively against cyber attacks such as ransomware. Why ransomware is a leadership problem. So here we will discuss cyber incidents disrupt operations. They can cause control systems to not work, which the control systems are vital for a pipeline because they monitor the process variables. It impacts safety and production. So cyber risk equals business risk. Cybersecurity is now more about business continuity. Ransomware attacks of today have crippled operational reliability, safety systems, and supply chains. Energy delivery companies need to consider cyber threats more in their risk management. Leadership teams now acknowledge that operational downtime can result in financial, legal, and regulatory risk in as little as one day. What is ransomware? Ransomware locks a business's network or data, preventing access to network hardware or software. Often, these hackers demand ransom payments to restore access to the users that need to get on the IT or operating system. Most attacks start with a compromised password or a vulnerability in remote access systems. Ransomware groups often steal sensitive information and encrypt other systems, but also put pressure on organizations to pay the ransom. The dark side hacker group that's suspected to be out of Russia demanded $4.4 million in Bitcoin for the Colonial Pipeline to return to service. And it was actually paid. The Colonial Pipeline incident. So here is a map of the pipeline route coming from Houston, Texas, going all the way up into the eastern United States, up into New Jersey, feeding all those populated areas of the East Coast. So the attack happened in May 2021. The Colonial Pipeline is the nation's largest refined fuel pipeline. It carries gasoline, diesel, home heating fuel, and jet fuel. Adds up to about 45% of the nation's use. Operations were temporarily halted, which caused chaos. There were fuel shortages. People were panicking. It was not a fun time. The Colonial Pipeline attack was one of the most high-profile ransom incidents to come to public view and affecting critical infrastructure in the United States. The pipeline serves almost half the refined fuel used on the east coast of the United States. The enterprise shut down after the attack to prevent further interruptions to operating technology systems. The shutdown caused fuel shortages in several states. Can't go without that fuel. Attack on a business. So not only was the pipeline affected, but businesses were affected. Transportation, emergency declarations, increased fuel prices. The implications were deep than just the Colonial Pipeline itself. Prompted panic buying of fuel, long lines at gas stations. Airlines and trucking companies had logistical difficulties. Several states declared emergencies. This kind of attack shows that critical infrastructure cyber incidents can have ripple economic effects. Risk of operation. Pipeline companies. Pipeline operations highly rely on their monitoring and control systems. It is the eyes and the ears of the operator. They need it for good process safety so they could control the temperature, pressure, flow rates in real time. And without that, the pipeline can get out of control, cause an overpressure, a leak, a spill, a fire, or people can even lose their lives. Safety systems will not function. Not every piece of operational technology will do well even if it's unharmed. Downtime of the pipeline affects the operational and financial aspects of a multifaceted system. There are also penalties, regulatory compliance issues, non-compliance, and damage can happen to an organization's reputation due to cyber incidents. Financial loss, stakeholder loss, these are all consequences. Why are pipelines the fragile ones? The vast majority of pipeline systems currently use outdated control technologies designed without cybersecurity in mind. So a lot of these control systems were designed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, during that time, there wasn't no network, no internet. Nobody knew what a hacker was as much as we hear the language today. So it was less frequent, but better operating and business networks enable greater effectiveness of preventing things such as ransomware attacks. However, such links also mean a higher likelihood of future cases of cyber threats emerge. Vendor access gives hackers another chance to gain entry into the company. Best practices that management can use is network segmentation implementation. So that's segmenting operational networks from business networks. One of the greatest ways to reduce the impact of ransomware is through network segmentation. By isolating operational technology from business systems, meaning isolating process control systems from like people's email or people's website or the intranet or the IT systems that are used by office people instead of people that are in a control room controlling the pipeline. These can build physical barriers. By separating out such things from systems, cyber incidents at all cannot disrupt the smooth operation, and that they may never ever get to business. Segmentation lowers the time needed to detect and dismantle malicious attacks. It's all about that recognizing and responding. Another best practice is identity protection. For example, if a network is not secured against a cyber attack, the company may be unable to return to normal operations. So protecting identity is critical. Many ransomware attacks are launched based on stolen credentials, such as passwords. Multi-factor authentication greatly mitigates unauthorized access for people and hackers. System access should be limited to people responsible for doing their jobs and nobody else. Planning for incident response. Incident response planning helps organizations react fast to incidents. Business continuity plans support the continuation of essential functions in the event of system outages. Companies need to conduct regular tests to see whether the responses are working. So it's not only smart to have a business continuity plan, but it's good to test it, have drills, such as yearly or whenever there's a change, and have somebody responsible for keeping it up to date. A new approach for management to implement would be a zero trust architecture. So this is verifying every access request, not just letting somebody be able to log on to anything that works in the company. Zero trust architecture is built on the premise that without further verification, no user or device will be trusted. Regular verification minimizes the likelihood of being accessed without authorization. Traditional perimeter defenses are no longer sufficient, and many organizations are embracing this approach. So this would be good for a company to adopt and implement in their organization. Another approach for management to have is to implement AI threat detection. Nowadays, AI learns abnormal activity patterns. For example, AI platforms analyze how network activity looks to identify unusual behaviors that may be connected to an attack. AI monitoring allows organizations to detect threats faster and react sooner. So these algorithms are getting smart. They're able to help businesses detect these patterns that look like it might be a hack. So this is a method that would be good for a company to adopt. How to infuse cybersecurity into the future of your strategy. Keep your leadership responsible. Have high expectations. Embed enterprise risk management. Look at each aspect of your business from the start of a project through implementation, through procedures, through operational daily life, and have that all linked to a good planning and good execution for this strategy to work. Cybersecurity is an essential aspect of organizational strategy. The management of operational risk arising from safety and environmental hazards is already part of pipeline organization management. To be more effective, cyber risk needs to be baked into these frameworks to further reinforce resilience. So, organizations need to concentrate on access restrictions and network isolation. Cybersecurity requirements should be integrated into vendor and enterprise risk management protocol. Leaders require ransomware simulations for their readiness and the practice as a tool to be used to fine-tune areas of weakness. So in conclusion, cyber resilience protects operational continuity, continue to make money, continue to be a good place to work for the safety of the people, places, and things around your pipeline. So ransomware poses a significant operational risk to key infrastructure. This emphasizes the need for proactive cybersecurity. Cybersecurity integration into operational strategy improves the reliability and safety of stakeholders within the organization. Thank you for listening.